Hello, good evening, and welcome to Political Update. I am your host, Christopher Devine, and today we have with us Republican candidate for governor, Mark Fisher. Thank you for being with us, Mark.
Thank you, Chris, for having me.
So let's start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Sure. I grew up in Westfield, Mass, on the western part of the state. My dad went to trade school and studied to be a machinist. And my mom and most of her sisters only went to elementary school. That's how things were back in the Depression. And so when I graduated from high school, I did not go to college. I joined a union at O'Connell Envelope Company, rolled up my sleeves, got dirty, learned the value of a buck. And when I eventually did go to college, I went to a 2-year community college. Graduated, worked for a while before I transferred to WPI, and I earned degrees in engineering and management. And then I worked as an engineer in Massachusetts, which was very hard. I've been out of work and unemployed 5 times in Massachusetts. And 4 of my previous employers have closed their doors and moved out of state. The last time I was unemployed, I found a business for sale, which I purchased 4.5 years ago. And it's done so well, it's given me the flexibility in my time to do something more than just vote and complain. And that's why I'm running for governor.
Sure. So what is it about your background and your life experiences that have made you ready to take position as governor?
I could talk about my business experience, my education, being an engineer, and I'm sure those will fit in somehow, but I think the talents or the skills that allow me to be governor or do well in the corner office are things that your listening audience has in common, and that's being able to live within your means, balance your checkbook, and have a healthy dose of common sense. I think we bring those 3 things to Beacon Hill, it'll be a big fresh breath of fresh air.
Sure. So yourself, you're running as a Republican candidate,
Correct.
Member of the Tea Party.
Correct.
Do you think that you have a fair chance to run as governor in a big Democratic state like Massachusetts?
I guess 2 ways to answer that. We've seen this play out before. Governor Chris Christie is a conservative down in New Jersey, a blue state. He was elected and just recently re-elected by overwhelming margin. And then Scott Walker in a blue state of Wisconsin. He won election, and when a recall election was forced on him by the unions, he won that by a margin bigger than his original election. And then we've done the same thing in Massachusetts back in the 80s. We had similar problems that we're experiencing now, and for a solution, we elected Ronald Reagan twice in a big blue state. And my chances for winning are equal to or better than the earlier patriots who fought against the biggest military power on earth and won.
So let's talk about an issue that seems to be big to you, the Turnpikes.
Sure.
Here in Massachusetts. So why is that such a big issue that you're passionate about, and what does that
Sure.
mean for the state?
The way I look at this, if we can't trust our government, it's no use talking about anything else. And we were promised back in the 50s, long before you were born, that when the Turnpike was paid for, the tolls would come down. And the Turnpike's been paid for close to 30 years, again, long before you were born, and yet we're still paying tolls. And why is that? The billboards that are on the Turnpike and all the rest stops, the gas stations, the food eateries, pay rent to the Turnpike Authority, and the amount of rent that comes in each year more than pays for the Turnpike maintenance to the tune of a surplus of $20 million each year, which goes into the general fund. So the tolls are no longer needed, and it's time to fulfill that promise that was made to the citizens of Massachusetts.
So the tolls alone bring in over $325 million a year to the state that the state uses for construction projects along the pike to keep it maintained. What are your plans to help if you take out the tolls to gather that loss of revenue?
Well, that revenue is used to pay for the toll takers themselves and the toll booths and the pensions of them and so forth and so on. It's an amazing thing. I have nothing against the toll takers. The average wage of a toll taker is $76,000 a year, and with overtime, people have made over $123,000 a year. You're going to go to college probably pretty soon and rack up a lot of debt. These people can come right out of high school, very little skilled job, and get paid an extraordinary amount of money for a menial task. This is what happens when government gets involved with patronage jobs and ends up paying people way over the skill set that's there. That's something that needs to stop. They're patronage jobs. We were promised that the tolls would come down when the Turnpike was paid for. That's happened. We have to keep the promise that was made to the citizens of Massachusetts.
So do you have any plans as of now to get that loss of revenue back up to continue a steady income for the state if you do take away the tolls?
Well, then, if there's additional revenue generated from the tolls, that has to be taken care of by eliminating other programs. For example, there's a Department of Highway Safety, and the director of that department was involved in an enormous scandal recently. And Governor Devine Patrick just appointed someone new to that position. It's a political appointee position. I'm talking about eliminating the entire department. And why? I traveled down a highway in Worcester the other day, and there was a billboard that came up, an electronic billboard from the Department of Highway Safety. And it talked about reducing windshield glare. And it said, use windshield washer, use your visor, and use sunglasses. This is all common sense stuff. We don't need to be paying thousands of dollars a month for that billboard and other aspects of the Department of Highway Safety. So we eliminate these programs, which also cost the taxpayers money, and thereby don't need this revenue that's generated from the tolls.
So as of now, there are over 410 people employed by the tolls in Massachusetts. If we're talking about eliminating the tolls, would that just increase the unemployment rates in the state?
Well, I would give them preference in existing government openings. What I wouldn't be for, and this was just in the paper Saturday, was that Governor Devine Patrick is talking about giving them a $24 million raise and a severance package of over $50,000 a year. This is ridiculous. This doesn't happen in private industry because it's not common sense.
We're going to move on to another issue in the state right now. They're trying to bring in a casino to the state, which Governor Patrick has approved under his administration. Do you disagree with bringing a casino? Are you in favor of that?
Personally, I don't think the government should be involved in gambling at all. This has been approved by the voters in some areas of the state, and that's a decision they've made, and I have to abide with that. But personally, I'm opposed to casinos.
Okay. All right. Are there any other issues as of now that you're running on that you'll persist as you run for governor?
Sure. There are problems in the state, but there's also additional broken promises. The tolls in Turnpike are one. But secondly, we were promised that the income tax, when it was raised above 5%, that would be a temporary increase. And when that promise was broken, the voters in the state all got together in a referendum and voted to have it rolled back to where we were promised it would be, 5%. And when we did that, the legislature just ignored us. They ignored the will of the people. And so as governor, I want to roll the income tax back to 5% where we were promised it would be, because government can't lie to its citizens. And then a third broken promise is the same thing happened with the sales tax. When Governor Devine Patrick increased it above 5%, he told us it would be temporary until revenues increased. Well, revenues must have increased because he can find $9 million somewhere to redo his office. So again, as governor, the sales tax rolls back to 5% where we were promised it would be, because government can't lie to its citizens.
So you're talking about rolling these taxes back, which would be less of a burden on the citizens of Massachusetts. But as we talk about cutting back on these taxes, that would certainly benefit the people. What impact would that have on the state government and again, gathering revenue?
This is something that goes back to John Kennedy. This is a conservative idea. The money goes back to the people where it was promised it would be. First, it's an integrity issue. We were promised it would be rolled back to that level. We do that. Money goes back into people's pockets. And this is a novel idea, that the people stimulate the economy. Rather than the government taking money from people and trying to stimulate the economy that way, let's give the money back to the people we took it from, and they can choose best what to do. Upgrade their appliances, pay down their mortgages. That in and of itself will stimulate the economy and create more jobs, which will create more revenue for the state in payroll taxes.
Okay, well, this has been a political update one-on-one interview with Mark Fisher. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me, Chris.
Today.
Very good.
Again, I'm Christopher Devine, and this has been Political Update.